the truth? Are you tired of being so confused? You feel like you're more fucked up than the lies on the evening news? Well, just step right in. We can talk about it all as friends. And if you want, we can hug and kiss and make up for the party ends. Agree or disagree, just don't unfriend me. 'Cause I'm everything you want, damn sure what you need. I won't tell no lies, back up all the facts with truth. And if you can't get down with that, you must be somebody's new.
Make sure to spam, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Let's get the hearts going, the likes, all that stuff. If you don't do it, it won't get out there.
Hey, Hog Twins here. Check out our friend Matthew Spirit at his podcast at The Dumb Show and his website, don'tunfriendme.com. Yeah.
What is going on, Dumb Nation? I can't say that I expected to be on this early. I was participating in my afternoon slumber, something I do every single day. I just go and get a quick little nap. Gives me my 15, 20 minutes of refresh, and then I'm good to go for a late night with y'all, and that usually keeps me happy. My name is Matthew Spear. I'm the host of Don't Unfriend Me. Good to have you here today. Probably won't be going live tonight because I plan on spending a little bit of time with you right now in regards to this topic. You can find me at The Dumb Show across all social media, and you can also head on over to thedumbshow.com. We got some cool new shirts and long sleeves in and stuff today. So if you haven't had a chance to go check that out, check it out. People often ask me, hey, Matt, why don't you talk about your military service all the time? Why isn't that something that you talk about on an ongoing basis? You had some cool stuff you did in the military. Why not talk about it at all times? Because there's a couple reasons. One is I don't like to tread on my previous service to gain any type of respect or notoriety or anything else. That's not really my MO. When I'm challenged or questioned, I will obviously bring it up. And most of the time, it's like water off a duck's back. What opinions are made about me, I really don't care. I'll never be canceled because I will never succumb to the pressure of outside influence simply because they disagree. I've tried to create a channel that appreciates disagreement, appreciates people challenging, and I'm fine with all of that. What I'm not okay on is when people who have very little experience in the ways and means of a certain topic encroach upon it and pretend that fact is opinion or opinion is fact. That drives me up the wall. In fact, nothing will get you a little bit of an attitude faster than that. And let me explain. If somebody wanted to talk about whittling a piece of wood into a thimble, there would be some basic things that I would immediately know about that topic. The first thing that I would know about whittling a piece of wood into a thimble is that I know nothing about whittling a piece of wood into a thimble. However, I would assume that you would need some sort of sharp object to begin the process. And I guess that could be a piece of obsidian or a hard stone, a knife, a machine of some sort, maybe even a small chisel. I don't know. And I guess you would have to choose the type of wood that you would want, whether it would be an oak or a cherry or a walnut or maybe a pine. I don't know what's good for thimble making when it comes to wood. And then I guess you would need an exuberant amount of patience and time in order to create this thimble made of wood. And then, or make sure it's ergonomically correct for all sizes of hands. I mean, really, what do you do? Is it a size 8 or a size 10 or something diminutive like a size 6? I'm not sure. But what I do know is that I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But I can make educated opinions and guesses on the finer points of making a wooden thimble. Would everyone agree? Great. That's great. That's opinion. But the moment that we want to divulge into fact, which would be there is this way to make a thimble and only this way to make a thimble, and I happen to have the Jesus Christ of thimble makers right here, the modern day carpenter who makes them out of gopher wood while walking on water, is here to speak to all of you. At that point, my opinion doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Is because I don't know what I'm talking about. And the moment that the big JC of thimble making walks into the premises, that is when my mouth will close and my ears will open. Now, there'll be time for questions and there'll be time for learning and dissemination and all of that, but not until I shut up and listen. Now, that is my general approach to most things in life, whether it's how to rebuild a car engine or how to take a quadrupodic Blaupunk and make it effective, or how to rewire my home audio system, or how to fire a round at 750 yards. If I don't know how to do that and I'm not an expert in that, I'm going to ask a series of questions to ensure that I understand. That's my general take on life. And I will say it has suited me fairly well up to this point. Reason being is that I consider myself somebody who knows a lot of stuff. I know a lot of stuff, a lot of useless stuff, but I know a lot of stuff. In fact, I usually don't open my mouth unless I know what I'm talking about. And if I don't know what I'm talking about, that's usually when I will ask questions, and it infuriates people. In fact, today, I had one of my listeners who is so frustrated, who's been watching for quite a while, simply because I asked the question, is this fact or opinion? This person melted down like I've never seen before. Long diatribes of capital letters and yelling at me. And I thought you were different. I thought you were different. And I'm like, okay, great. But is this fact or opinion? I thought you were one of us. I thought you were on our side. Right. But is this fact or opinion? I don't know what you want from me. I don't understand what's wrong with you. What's going on? Where's the Matt we know? Right. Is this fact or opinion? That's all I want to know. But this is the problem. When you don't understand something and you feel yourself in a position of undermining your own argument, you should stop and ask more questions, because you're going to find out quickly whether that person is the big JC of knowledge about this topic or if they're just full of shit as everyone else. When I don't understand what you're saying, I ask questions, and people get their feelings hurt all the time. Well, I don't care. That's not my job. My job is not to care about your feelings. My job is to provide a product and for you to decide to use that product and explore how to use that product effectively, or just turn it off and no longer engage with the product that I'm selling. And the cost is really, really low. It just takes your investment to actually research and try to understand, because that's your responsibility in this relationship. You get to navigate the obstacles set before you by me. That's our relationship. And if you decide to engage with me on a further construct, whether it be in person or by email, you have the right to challenge my thought process, and then it's my job to try to understand what you're articulating and process it, and the dance goes on and on and on. That's how relationships are formed. Where it stops is when you take a front when I ask you a question to clarify and you don't have the time, luxury, or disposition to do so. That's when our relationship stops, because you're lazy. Now, going back to originally what I said, a show that's live that has to do with another viewer. Well, this one is frustrating. And it's frustrating because I have probably, on one hand, I can count the times that somebody has accused me of using a pogue type attitude, people other than grunts, non-infantry personnel. And there's that dichotomy in the military where you've got combat personnel and you've got support. Well, combat tends to look down on support once in a while, and most of it's just good fun and ribbing. But very rarely do you see that level of seriousness from a civilian that says you're using your military service to make me feel small or to trounce on my opinion, which is the most ridiculous thing. Unfortunately, if I was a car mechanic and you came to me and engaged me about your vehicle and I told you you need a new water pump, a new air filter, and your timing belts are off, and then you say to me, how dare you use your mechanical knowledge against me? You're a looping idiot. You're just an idiot. I don't know what to say. You engage with somebody asking for their assistance. You're engaging with me for a reason. The reason being is that either you're looking to be entertained or educated, or you're just scrolling and happened by. But when you interact with my page for 3 days in a row and you've made several comments, you know what you're going to get. You've engaged with my page. You know what type of interactions are going to happen here. It's going to be political. And if you engage with me, you are going to say, well, this guy on this topic believes he's a resident expert. So I better come with my guns loaded, my emotions pushed to the side, and a whole bunch of fact. And then when you engage with me on that level, and then say, how dare you use that knowledge against me? You're a fucking idiot. That's all I can tell. That's really all I can say. And people are saying, Matt, how dare you? Why would you call someone an idiot? Because that's what it is. What would you like me to say? You're an ignoramus? Is that better? What should I say to make you feel better about being an idiot? Call you a jackanape? Well, is there any other derivatives of the word idiot that I can come up with? That you're a fucking clown? Pardon the language. But I don't want to do a show like this, but this is going to be educational for my viewers because they're going to learn something today. They're going to get into the mind of somebody who does this or did this for a living, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. Now, I do these 15-minute little videos, and they're cute, and they're fun, and they're bouncing all around, and now you want to go ahead and get an intelligence briefing on why the air raid in Ukraine didn't fucking happen? Sure, I'll give that to you. I'll do it for you right now. And I'll do what I did for a living. And Leroy can come on, and he can take over when my watch is over, and he can show you how you're wrong. But anybody who sits here and denies that air raid was completely planned, unnecessary, and an opportunity for Joe Biden with the admission from competitors of the Republican initiative, CNN, MSNBC, Reuters, Al Jazeera, and every other, Real Clear Politics, every other major news network all said the following. So I'll go ahead and say this. You don't get blocked when you challenge me. In fact, I love it. I live off of it. I thrive off of it, and I think it's great. And in no way will I block this lady, except if she continues to disrespect the viewers, she lies, or is dismissive when proven wrong. That drives me up the wall. So all the people saying something in chat, great to have you here. Love you. Thank you so much. I recognize you. I've read your comments, but right now we've got to get into this because unfortunately, this is the way we're going to spend our afternoon. And I guess that's my choice, so we can deal with it, I'm sure. Does everyone remember this video? Let me move some stuff over. If you want to call in, you may, but I would hold on. Everyone remembers this video. Did Zelensky and Biden fake an air raid to garner more political sympathy and money? I think everyone remembers this, right? Most people watched it. I think we watched together live. It's a glorious evening. Loads of fun from everybody. And then, of course, people have engaged and they've had comments and they've left their little idiosyncratic tropes and ideas and comments with no ado. All of it was fine. All of it was just normal conversation that we've seen 1.5 million times on my page. Nobody was being offensive. It's just a matter of people expressing their opinions. And that is fine if you go ahead and acknowledge that it's an opinion and not fact. The moment that you say, this is incontrovertibly a fact, empirical data, and that's what evidence is, by the way, if you're looking at the derivative of the word from the Latin, it is fact. It's fact. There's no way around it. It's not supposition and conjecture. It's not philanthropic ideal nothings tossed into the air with caramel-coated fantasy. It is simply fact. And fact, in any way, shape, or form, in any language, like love, is truth. So if you're going to tout, hey, this is truth, you better make sure you've got the facts. Now, I will give you my history. A lot of people don't know my entire history because I don't talk about it much. A lot of people see my ad and know that I was naval intelligence, but what did I do in naval intelligence? What was my job? Well, my job was to analyze geopolitical situations from a military, government, and economic standpoint, assess analysis from several different levels of collective intelligence, human, rated, blah, 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 ELINT, and put that together from several different underarching intelligence support apparatuses like electronic intelligence or radio men or crypto or whatever it is, that bubbles up into one fine point into the JIC or the SCIF, where intelligence is collected, disseminated, processed, and then revised to make a analysis. And then our responsibility is to provide that analysis to the operators or to the operational situation or the op intelligence or strike or imagery or wherever else this is coming from, and then to repopulate that intel to the people that are required to make decisions. Whether that be an admiral or the Secretary of Defense, I've briefed both. And you would go ahead and be on a team usually, and a watch to go ahead and provide intelligence to certain situations. Now, the other role is collection, where you would be responsible for tracking, let's say, a submarine movement from a Polyarny Inlet down into the Arabian Gulf or the Arabian Peninsula area somewhere in the Gulf. And your job would be to track that, estimate its approach, and how long it'll take to get there, what will happen when it pops hatch, who's going to get it, what threat analysis that creates against your theater, etc., etc., etc. That's just one facet of what my job entailed. Now, it sounds like a lot of training, and it was. In fact, 1 A school and subsequently 2.5 C schools. Most people get 1. Some people will go into linguistics. Some people go into strike. Some people will go into imagery. Some people will go into other venues. I happen to have 2.5 schools in addition to my normal training. Op Intel System Afloat. Now, where did I dabble? All over. Where does Leroy dabble? All over. And we've had the opportunity to traverse this planet, live in all sorts of different places, study all sorts of different weapon systems, and also understand the geopolitical climate of the world, and haven't stopped since we've got out of school. So, does that make me qualified? Probably. To talk about certain things like weapon systems, like geopolitical situations, military troop movements? Sure. So let's do that tonight. Mike Blankman's on. He's also another guy that will go ahead and back this up. Mike, welcome to the show. This lady, now I first of all want to say this, and I'm going to be real clear. This lady ghosted the moment I made the comment that said, video incoming, stand by. And remember, you asked for this. Now, she's either A, watching, or she's done her job, which is to come in and stir the pot, be a surface level thinker, create as much conflict as possible, and then pop smoke and go. Which, if that is her motive, her modus operandi, then she's achieved that. She's achieved that today. And not because I'm gaslit or I'm frustrated, because this is how I am every single day of the week. I simply am motivated to disprove her accusations and the besmudging of my character. Is that fair? Great. Mary Zyla Skarenbroich, Skarenbroich. I don't know. Is that Polish? I don't think it's Russian. Skarenbroich, Brok. I don't know. I'll have to ask her. This lady who has a picture of a poodle, which always, first of all, if you're a woman and you have 3 names, that's usually a sign that it's not going to go well. That's the first thing that I always know. If you're a woman with 3 names, it means you're indecisive and you just can't pick a name. Now, you can tell me it's because I want to make sure that long-lost person from high school finds me. What you're basically trying to say is that ex-boyfriend who no longer cares about you. You want to go ahead and keep your maiden name in case they search for you and that old flame tries to reignite. That's what you're saying. Okay. If you have 3 names and you're a woman, usually this doesn't go well. I can cite some other sources. Hillary Rodham Clinton is one of them. But I jest. But usually that's a good sign. Now, this lady says to me on my video, you said, fact. I am telling you, you said this, which is stating fact and not opinion. Immediately, my ears are open. I'm like, okay, here comes some fact. This isn't going to be feeling. It's not going to be emotion. It's going to be factual. And facts are really important, as we've stated earlier. Here it is. You said Trump visited North Korea when they were at war. Who was North Korea at war with in 2019? So I took a second and I thought back and I played the video in my head. I didn't check my notes. I didn't look at what I wrote. I just went back and played it in my head because I'm intimately aware of what I say and what I don't say. And I said, nope, I didn't say that. At no time did I say that North Korea or South Korea was at war. In fact, I said they were not in a de facto state of war. And I made sure to clarify that in the demilitarized zone, it was a demarcation line set in World War II after 1953 when they stopped their conflict and had an armistice, which is essentially a stand down or a peace treaty, but never solidified and ended the declaration of war, which is why North Korea and South Korea are still officially at war. And not only are North Korea and South Korea officially at war, since 1953, there's been over 175 incidents where death or casualties have occurred from a multiple or singular level from attacks from North Korea into South, including sniper fire, artillery fire, minor conflicts between squads, tank regiments, etc., etc., etc. Hundreds of conflicts on this border. Not only is this border interlaced with mines and anti-personnel and anti-vehicle mines that will kill anyone that they encroach upon, it is covered with sniper fire. It has battalions of artillery, 120 millimeter and above, aimed at the DMZ in case anyone encroaches upon it from the southern border. And it is a demilitarized zone. It is built up with barracks. There are battalions of troops on both sides, and it is a demarcation line, which essentially says no grab ass is done here to there. And if it is, we're going to war. That's what it means. So you can go ahead and say that the DMZ is Shangri-La. First of all, my question to this nice lady is, have you ever been there? I have. Twice. So I can give you my firsthand knowledge, not only from an exercise standpoint and utilizing South Korean military and Japan in a joint task force to run military exercises, but we can also, oh, I got a call, hold on. Hello? Hello? Is this Susie, my Time Life operator? Oh. Oh.
To confirm this order, please press 1. To speak to customer service representative.
So excited.
Amazon customer service, how may I assist you today?
Amazon customer service? Thank you for calling me. I've been waiting to hear from you. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
Oh, I'm wonderful. I'm just absolutely wonderful. It's been a long day. My back's a little sore. I've got corns on my feet. I don't have as much money as I want to, but things are going okay. It really started with my mom. She wasn't very nice to me when I was younger, so I had a complex. I went to my father, but he was never around. Then I got beat up in high school. I had a girlfriend who dumped me when I was 18. 26 years old, it kind of came together for me, and I started doing other things in the military. I went to college. I got laid a lot, smoked a little pot, drank some stuff. It was loads of fun. How are you doing?
Same as you.
Same as me? Exactly the same as me? Oh man, you sound familiar. Did we sleep together?
Maybe.
Hello? Maybe. Oh wow. Are you calling me about child support or something that I need to know? Let me guess. Is the baby extremely handsome, 6'4", blue eyes, little debonair, have a nice beard? Maybe. Because I would be the baby daddy. That would be me. Did you want to continue this dance, or did you just want to hang up and realize and chalk this one up as a loss? What do you think?
What do you say?
I think you probably should chalk it up as a loss. I would pop smoke. Charlie Mike out, okay? Have a good one. You're a sweetie. Bye-bye. If that doesn't encourage people to call me, I don't know what will. It's a scammer pretending to be from Amazon. Says your package is ready to ship. Yeah, whatever. Well, that was fun. We should just end it here. That's better. It's just done. All right. So I never said that North Korea and South Korea was a war zone. Never said that at all. So the most important thing is now, what am I looking for as a host? Oh, come on, man. We're not. All right. Who's on the line? Who's calling? What's up, man? I will. I think I don't even know. Listen, I don't know what the lady's issue is, and I'm okay with that. She's trying to engage, but the whole point is accountability, and I think you'll see that throughout this. Did you have a chance to see this thread, or are you just calling from what you're seeing right now? Right. Right. I mean, Ben Shapiro says it. Why can't we say it? Well, Howie, I appreciate you calling, man. Do me a favor. Hang out, listen to the rest of the show, call in right after. Let me get to this, and then you and I can chat it up if you want to call back in. Deal? All right, brother. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Nice guy. All right. So let's get to this. Oh, he's muted. Okay, I'm sorry. Guys, I wasn't ready to take calls. Howie was just calling and said, she must know Meghan Merkel. She's taking things too seriously. Sorry, it's muted. It's okay. It won't happen again. All right. All right, so let's get to this. Darn it, we're busy, folks. We've got a lot to do. Let's go. So at this point, now that I've read that she didn't lie. She lied. That's a lie. When you say I said something and I didn't say, either you mistook it or it's a lie. And either way, I'm looking for a retraction, and not an apology, maybe just a retraction. Debbie, hang in there. The story's just beginning. You haven't missed anything. And Howie, I love you. I'm sorry you were on mute. So I got this comment here, and all I'm looking for is a retraction. The next statement from her should be pretty simple. It should be, you know what? I misspoke. You didn't say they were at war. Sorry I said that. You know what? Good point. Have a nice day. That's it. That's it. Now, if you have something else to say, you need to reset your line of inquisition, right? Because you've already mucked it up. So your next statement should be, hey, would you mind if I ask you another question? And then mine would be, well, certainly. I would love to hear how you would want to retort. If you don't do that, then you're going to piss me off, because that's the way normal people talk. You would treat your mom that way. You treat your dad that way. You would treat a friend that way. Why am I any different? I treat you that way. Howie called in. Wasn't the best time, but I was amicable to him, and I'm excited to hear from him. Another person called me without knowing who they are, and they got an earful. It's just based upon what the situation is. So this is what, oh, my wife just sent me something. I guess my lizard is listening to Dad talk and is watching the show. When I say my lizard, it's not a euphemism. It's actually my lizard. My lizard is watching the show and listening to Dad talk. So cute. All right, so let's get to this. We don't have all day. Mary Zyla Sharonbroich. Whatever. I said, no, I didn't. But the Korean Peninsula is still technically at war, since it was never undeclared in 1953 and ended with a ceasefire. There have been attacks as recent as 2020. To say it is safe an area would be a gross understatement. That was it. I answered her question. I addressed what she said. No, it's not in a state of war. However, this is what it is. It is a bearded dragon. Then Mary does the unthinkable in my world. She says, well, then there is no comparison. Okay, you know what? You didn't apologize for accusing me of doing something that I didn't do. You didn't admit your mistake, and you didn't open up into a new line of questioning, even though the entire premise of your question is wrong to begin with. So now you're like, oh, well, then there's no comparison. Wait a second. Let's go back to where you were wrong, and the premise of your question was completely unfounded. You don't want to do that. That bothers me. So I'm going to take it up a notch. And I simply said, that's because you don't know what you are talking about and have never been there. Ha ha ha. You spelled I was wrong. Wrong. Do the cat and the lizard get along? Famously. There's pictures all over. Now, Mary decides to go ahead and escalate to a new level. Why? Because she already intended on doing so to begin with. She didn't come in here for a conversation. She came in here to argue. And like most women, doesn't show me her cards. Women place their emotions close to their vest when they're in a defensive posture. Men tend to lash out outwardly. It's not sexism if it's true. So Mary does what she always does. She played the helpless little lamb and now is going to show me her teeth. And here it is. So which country would bomb the area when the US president and North Korean president were meeting there? I don't know, probably the same country that wouldn't bomb Kyiv because they made a ceasefire and a declarification and escalation based upon the White House and Russia. But we'll go ahead and pretend that your line of questioning isn't hypothetical, and if my grandmother had balls, she would be my grandfather. She then starts to answer her own question, which shows that her question is rhetorical and not in good faith in any way, shape, or form, and says, or maybe right? So now we're going to do superlatives and we're going to do hypotheticals again because I love that shit. Says, maybe you think North Korea would shoot Trump in a heavily fortified place. Look, I am glad that Trump talked with Kim and that John Kelly was able to convince him that there was a better approach than nuking them as Trump wanted. Oh my God, can you get a period in here? And it was great photo op opportunity. However, it is a weak argument to try to downplay Biden's visit to Ukraine. Okay, there is so much bullshit to unpack in this. I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. First of all, John Kelly is Kelly. Okay, there's no E. Just saying. Second, the man wrote a book. After a year and 2 months of service to Donald Trump, just like everyone else did, John Kelly is a Bolton. He is an establishment politician. These are the same people that talked about Russian collusion, throwing ketchup on the wall, Stormy Daniels and P tapes, Brenner and Tapper, spying, tapping Trump towers, investigating people on his campaign, the Mueller investigation, and an unidentified source. John Kelly was pissed. His career ended when Donald Trump pulled and said no more. Or maybe you think, oh, I forgot this one. And it was a great photo op opportunity. Of course it was. Because if you think that photo op opportunities aren't done all over Washington, especially from politicians, you're insane. Of course it's done. And the funny thing is you undercut your argument because you then say that politicians do things for photo op opportunities. My claim is that Joe Biden did it for opportunities, and you simply say, oh, no. Not Joseph. Donald Trump does that. All other politicians don't. As long as they have a D in front of their name. That's what you're saying. Your entire premise is wrong. Not only is your entire premise undercut, but you have no factual data to back up your comments. Now, what she's referring to is that Donald Trump supposedly in a private conversation, which shows you what a scumbag John Kelly is, because executive privilege is the one constant for all presidents, decides to go ahead and take table talk or resolute desk talk, where Donald Trump supposedly said that he would nuke North Korea if Kim Jong-un would even get froggy if he continued to threaten him on Twitter and try to blame it on another sovereign nation to create confusion so he could get away with tactically nuking North Korea. So what you're telling me is Donald Trump, who instigated no proxy wars for 4 years, no open conflicts for 4 years, de-escalated over 16 different impacts that Barack Obama made in Kenya, in the Congo, in Egypt, in Libya, running proxies, de-escalated Syria, moved and instigated the pullout in Afghanistan, wanted to have a nuclear war with North Korea. You're fucking a joke. You're a joke. Not only from a factual standpoint, emotionally, you're delusional. If you believe John Kelly, then you have not been paying attention. I'm not saying John Kelly is lying wholeheartedly. I'm not even saying Trump said that or didn't say that. What I'm saying to you is that the actions of Donald Trump are either a binary choice. Go and shake his hand in North Korea, which he did with the Taliban when he invited them over, which he did when he did meet with Black Lives Matter leaders in Chicago, when he did with other people who condemned him and hated him, including when he met with Kim Kardashian, who spoke out against him completely with criminal justice reform, and met with people who were opposition to him, including Democrat leaders, and tried to go ahead with DACA, tried to go ahead and emancipate the illegal immigrants who are currently in the country, and give a package of allowing more immigrants to come in, and to reform immigration into the United States, even though every Republican told him not to, even though he taxed China and put tariffs on when every economist said it was a horrible idea, even though he pushed USMCA forward, which created more jobs and more surplus for the United States with a horrible trade deal with Canada and Mexico, even though they told him not to. You're telling me that the entire binary choice was the following. Number one, go shake Kim Jong-un's hand in the DMZ or nuke him. You're delusional. And we're only on the first post, lady. Remember, you asked for this. You wanted this. You begged for this. You wanted me to interact with you. You're too much of a coward to come on live. So I'm going to do it to you posthumously from here. After the dust is settled. My point after that was, North Korean president? You've got to be kidding me. That alone ends the conversation. I think you've had enough internet for today. Try back tomorrow. By the way, North Korea isn't a democracy. It's not an oligarchy. It's not a theocracy. It's not a republic. It's not a democracy. It's not a constitutional republic. It's not a representative democracy. Hell, the only thing it is a dictatorship. Period. Plain and simple. There's no elections. He's assigned by God, or their version of God. It might as well be a monarchy. So when you say the president of North Korea, not only do you have no idea what his real name is, and you had to go look it up, not only do you not know who his father is, not only do you not know the threats that he's made against South Korea and the United States, including raining fire down on American cities with their nuclear holocaust. You don't remember that quote. Sounds like a real peaceful place for Donald Trump to cross over in, huh? Maybe you haven't seen the satellite imagery at night when you can see North Korea is completely blacked out and you can see the outline of the entire country, and South Korea looks like New York fucking city. The difference between capitalism and a dictatorship. But anyway, the president of North Korea, gosh, oh man. She then says, okay, supreme leader. No, not I'm wrong again for like the umpteenth time. The supreme leader. Gives him his formal title. That is about as relevant. Okay, here we go. See, here's a comparison. Now this is called a comparison contrast, folks. This is a red herring argument. She's going to make something completely obscure that has nothing to do with a dictatorship, totalitarian government, or inherent birthright usurped by the Lord. She's going to go ahead and bring up some completely different that she feels is paramount to the conversation because somebody has done it to her and it annoys the shit out of her. Therefore, it's my responsibility to address it. Here it is. That is about as relevant as those who correct people when they call the U.S. a democracy and just have to say, we are not a democracy, but a constitutional republic. Potato, potato. What? Okay. I've put this to bed 100,000 times. 100,000 times. A republic, the only thing it cares about is the individual liberties of the citizen. A democracy cares about the collective rights of the citizen. That's it. There's no difference. That's it. They are not antithetical of each other. We have a constitutional republic when it comes to our laws and the hierarchies of our government and our system, from the local, state, municipalities, all the way up to the federal level. From a voting standpoint and representation standpoint, we're a democracy. What the hell is the big deal? Why can't you understand that since you know everything else, ma'am, as we completely find out throughout the rest of this post? My retort is this. I simply say, you just said facts aren't relevant. How can anyone take you seriously? I don't. The difference between a republic and democracy are actually quite simple, not hard. The difference between a totalitarian dictator assigned from a god and a president are comparatively the Grand Canyon and a crack in the sidewalk. That's how you make a comparison contrast, lady. Again, go get some rest. Now, at this point, this lady of listening is going, he's such an arrogant dick. Yes, completely. And when you're this fucking good at what you do, you have a right to be arrogant. It ain't bragging if it's true. Once again, you wanted this. You asked for this. You needed this in your day. Your poodle wasn't good enough to cuddle and love and watch Wheel of Fortune. You decided to bring down the thunder. Well, now you've got it, Missy. You remember you wanted this. It's not my fault. Mary comes back with, you just proved my point. What point? You haven't made a point. Everything you've said is wrong. But that's okay. She says, however, she's having what alcoholics call a moment of clarity. However, after much review, I've decided to go ahead and change the course of action. Yeah, because you're getting your ass kicked. Enough is enough. Declarative statement. Enough is enough. I've had enough. I've had it up to here with you. Might I suggest, sure, since everything you've said so far has been emotional suggestion, that the next time you ask people to respond, make sure you tell them to only comment if they agree with you. Okay. Deb Raymond, who I've seen Deb around, hi Deb, if you're listening, says, what are you even talking about? Neither Biden or Ukraine leader were in danger. Fake movie audio. She decides to go ahead and come back again, and here it is. There will be some learning here in a second, and whether you like that side, if you like the back and forth sparring and the riposte and the counter movements of back and forth sparring and pugilism, you're getting it. And then if you like a little bit more factual, let's dive into the question. We're going to do that in a second, but here you go. And I want to be clear. I understand there's crazy people out there. My mom's one of them. I don't want to pick on somebody she's not crazy. She's lucid. She understands what she's saying. She's making statements that she believes in with conviction. She's fair game. When those people who come out and talk about lizards and the cabal and, DeSantis, who's in prison in Guantanamo Bay, and this is a clone, those people, I just, bless your heart. This lady, no, she's fair game. She's in the food chain. Okay. She then says to Deb, and this is what's funny, is that she's immediately pissed off. She's going to fight with anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. She's going to go, because poor Deb just was like, what are you talking about? And she decides to loose her venom yet again. I did not say they were. I just commented, no, you did a lot more than that, that making a claim with no basis and comparing Biden's visits in a wartime zone versus Trump's visit to the DMZ was not a valid comparison. You made no such argument. What you said is you said something I didn't say and were wrong. You then called Kim Jong-un, the supreme leader, the president. You then were not able to decipher the difference between a democracy and a republic. You then made a horrible comparison to a totalitarian government versus a constitutional republic or a representative democracy. Everything you've said has been wrong. You didn't say that. Now we get your point. Matt, I don't agree with you that Biden's visit to Ukraine was less severe than Trump's visit to North Korea. You're wrong, but sure. And I'll tell you why you're wrong in just a few moments. By the way, she says, BTW, because by the way is too hard to spell out. Air raids are common daily occurrence in Ukraine, and not for the previous 5 days they weren't. It's kind of like balloons flying over the United States. There weren't any until there were. Well, now every news station's reporting air raids every day. I wonder why. Who controls the button, I wonder? Is it a National Defense Brigade? Is it NATO? Is it the UN? Maybe it's all the way down in Sri Lanka. I'm getting a news bulletin. Hold on. The Ukrainians control the air raid siren in Kyiv? No! How is it possible? Say it ain't so. Why would they continue the charade when Joe Biden's getting so much flack? If only a phone call happened. Hey, man, people aren't believing the air raid. Go ahead and flip the switch more so the reporters say there's more air raids. You've got it, big guy. 10%, motherfucker. You don't think that happened? Because remember, only Donald Trump uses political theater to gain notoriety and attention. Kind of like how he brought pallets of food and water to East Palestine, Ohio, and everyone insulted him and made fun of him and said his water was expired and said that he was a fat ass for going to McDonald's, even though it's probably the only restaurant in town. Right. Only Donald Trump uses political stage theater. I didn't know. Okay. All right. 10%, big guy, give it to me. All right, so let's finish up. Now she's a military analysis expert, and that's great because that's my AOR. I love this. I'm now the whittler of thimbles. I'm ready. She's going into my world now. If you thought it was bad before, just wait. It's about to get really bad for this lady. She then says, the alarm on Monday morning was triggered by a Russian MiG fighter jet. It's not a fighter. It's kind of like a fighter and an attack. It also has some ground bomb capability. It's a MiG-31K. We're going to go into the specificity of what it can and can't do and why your story is full of shit, but you can call it a MiG. By the way, the I in MiG is a lowercase I, just FYI. I mean, since you are an analysis expert and facts don't really matter, I guess you can call it whatever you want. But that MiG, as you call it, it's a lowercase I, but whatever. It's all semantics. I'm sorry. From Belarus. It wasn't from Belarus. There's an air base near Belarus, but whatever. Can hit a target in Kyiv in under 20 minutes. 500 miles. 500 miles. It takes 20 minutes for a rocket. Do you have any idea how fast rockets go? Do you understand how the slowest surface-to-air missile goes in Russia? How about a air-to-surface missile in Russia? How about a surface-to-surface missile? How about an air-to-air missile? How about a hypersonic missile? How about a cruise missile from the Kilo submarines that there's 4 of them in the Black Sea that could all hit Kyiv 10 times faster than anything from Belarus or from any plane, which gives off an early warning signal because of radar, but a sub doesn't. It basically just goes launch tubes 3 and 4, get a firing solution, and you're fucked about 35 to 45 seconds later from the Black Sea. But I digress. Those aren't specifics. We'll go into specifics in a second. Your whole idea about a MiG-31, one solid MiG, one MiG doing attack on Kyiv when they actually now have anti-air capability in Kyiv? You think Russia is going to send one stray MiG to do the job of what a squadron and a few bombers couldn't do? Okay. I wonder why they haven't done that all along to hit Vladimir Zelensky. Do you think that they don't want to hit Vladimir Zelensky because that would uprise NATO and link all other countries who aren't NATO in lockstep with the United States against Russia because he would assassinate a foreign leader? Huh. It's almost like they don't know where he's at. Well, wait a second. They do know where he's at. They have bunker busters. They have similar weapon systems that are bigger than the Moab that can take out a square mile. Why aren't they hitting Kyiv? I wonder if it's political strategy. Huh. Well, I wonder if they haven't been able to take out Zelensky in 1 year, that all of a sudden they magically could go ahead and take out Zelensky and Biden. Yes, that's what they've been waiting for. That's what Putin's wanted. But he didn't do it. Why? Wait a second. I don't understand. Why didn't he do that? He's got hypersonic missiles. He has high altitude bombers. I wonder if maybe he doesn't want to. I wonder why he wouldn't want to. Well, maybe we're going to get to that too, and I'll explain to you why Vladimir Putin had no intention whatsoever, because he just did a ceasefire and a de-escalation with the White House 10 hours before he even got into Poland. But you probably didn't know that. But you're going to find out more in a minute. My reply to Mary, she has a cute poodle, by the way. You see the poodle? So cute. I don't even know if it's a poodle, whatever. It's a dog. I say, says the person arguing based on emotion and speculation. I've been to the DMZ. You? Question mark. You have no earthly idea of what you're talking about, and your feelings matter little to facts. Sorry if you think I want you to agree with me. I would agree with you, but then we would both be wrong. I will take my firsthand experience and time and conflict over your pearl clutching. Now, I'm not insulting her. I'm not saying that I'm military and I'm better than you. I just simply said I'll take my personal firsthand experience and knowledge over her reading an article in the paper or on the internet and assuming that she's an expert. I think that's fair. In fact, if we're comparing who's a better thimble maker out of wood at this point, as we take my analogy from when we first started, I think that would be me or I. Now, I blasphemy here, so I want to apologize. Jesus Christos, I say. Now you're an expert in aviation warfare? Lady, you may want to research who you are lecturing. And then I simply put civilians. I didn't say effing civilians. I didn't say you couldn't. Some of the best civilians I know were GS contractors. Some of the most shit-hot operators I know have a GS status. Some of the best intelligence people I've ever worked with in my life were civilians. Why? Well, because the government makes them that way. I don't have any problem with civilians. What I do is I have a problem with armchair warrior civilians. People who feel that they understand the complexity of modern warfare and have absolutely no knowledge outside of unclassified information or with no formal training to make supposition into fact. That's not the way it works. So let's get into the rest. Mary, this is when she decided to go global thermonuclear on me and decided to go ahead and say something that I didn't like. Like before this, I didn't care. But this, she took the gloves off. And dare I say, good for her if that was her intent. She says, no. Z formation. But I can read. Congratulations. I mean, there's just a few basic things that a human being should be able to do at your age. One is to copulate, maybe, fornicate, sleep, shit, drink, eat, breathe, and hopefully read and write. I mean, that's not too much for me to ask, right? Because I'm assuming since you've been typing that you can probably read too. I don't know about comprehension. It doesn't sound like you're doing too well so far. But I would assume you could do the basics of reading and writing. But you can read, so therefore that qualifies you. Can you imagine? Mr. Spear, we're very excited for you to be here today. Thank you, ma'am. I am too. You come very highly recommended. Thank you, ma'am. I've worked very hard to become so. Outstanding. This position is going to require a lot of your time. It starts with a lucrative salary between $195,000 and $225,000 a year. If you go ahead and exceed your bonus from a margin and an overall productivity standpoint from fiscal year of 2022, you will receive a bonus anywhere from 10 to 40%, scalable over your gross margin index on your PMI indicators and your KPI indicators. Do you understand? Yes, I do. Thank you. Sweet. Why do you want to work here? Ma'am, it's pretty simple. Yes. I can read. O-R-E-A-C-A. We've been waiting for you. We've searched high and low. From Mount Sinai to the Turkish highlands. We've encroached upon the swamps of Tallahassee, the Himalayas, and yet, nay. But this day, more powerful than St. Crispin's Day, the blood of thy brothers and sisters in the effortless quest to find thee. Alas, you can read the heavens above. I'm just a little verklempt. Just 1 second, please, because we're so happy. Are you you can read? Congratulations, sister. So can pretty much the entire world, minus, I don't know, a few million. But oh, jeez. When can you start? Okay. But you can read. But anyway, I don't go around telling people they should believe every dumb thing I say. Okay. What dumb things have I said so far? Can you, besides that little skit, can you please tell me what I said that was dumb? I've got plenty of examples of what you've said, but please tell me what I've said. What did I say that was dumb? Besides that, I called the quest to find someone who could read effortless when it should have been gargantuan. Himalaic. What did I say that was dumb? Besides fact. I mean, I know facts are tough. She then says, should I believe every dumb thing I say because I was once in the military? That's one of those questions. If you don't leave now, I promise not to tell you. What? I don't understand that. But I think what she's trying to say is that because I was in the military, should she believe everything I say? As much as that she watches Wheel of Fortune and eats Stouffer's dinners, that I should listen to what she says. When it comes to this stuff, yeah, you probably should. Yeah, especially with my rating overall on being factual. My credibility is pretty good for those that know me. I may not have the biggest following, but I'm drinking milk. So yeah, you probably should listen to me. I don't know. You listen to CNN. You listen to editorialization. Why wouldn't you listen to me? I mean, I can at least give you facts, but we'll come back on that. I know a lot of people who were in the military. Could they read? People in World War II. That's awesome. Vietnam. Vietnam's one word. It's not two. It's not Vietnam. That's okay. Iraq and Afghanistan. No Grenada? Oh. We always forget about Grenada. What about Korea? Forget about Korea? Okay. Never has one used their military service to lord over others. What am I, Kim Jong-un? What do you mean lord over? All I said was civilians. Just like if I was a football player and I was a professional football player and someone was being an armchair quarterback, I'd probably say, people who haven't played football. Ha! Oh yeah, I forgot Panama too. Seriously? And how about all the other places that we weren't supposed to be in? I can't talk about those. So here's my reply. Here it is. Stand by is what I say. Video incoming. And remember, you asked for this. So here it is. I mean, let's do it, right? Let's do it the right way. Let's not sit here and make fun and play grab ass because we've already done that. So let's address the first topic, the demilitarized zone. I have 175 conflicts that have taken place since 1953. Some of them are large, some of them are small. But first, I didn't have a lot of time. I had about 27 minutes to put this together. Now, you can search Google. You can go ahead and search everywhere you want to see if I've taken this from the internet, or you can simply go, wow, 27 minutes. I wonder how fast his sex life is. Ask my wife, she's on 3 seconds, tops. The demilitarized zone, the DMZ, is a strip of land that separates North Korea and South Korea, and it is one of the most heavily militarized borders in the world. Not Korea, not North Korea, not the Orient, not the South Pacific, not Asia, not Eurasia, the world. There have been many conflicts and incidents on the DMZ over the years as tensions between North and South Korea have remained high. One of the most notable conflicts on the DMZ was the Korean War, which lasted from 1950 to 1953. During this time, the DMZ was the site of many battles, including the Battle of Porkchop Hill and the Battle of Old Baldy. Although the war ended in 1953 with an armistice agreement, no peace treaty has been signed, and the DMZ remains heavily fortified and extremely dangerous. That's from the Department of Defense, the last line. There's a direct quote from most recently a 2022 operation that took place in the theater during a task force. Till this day, extremely dangerous. In recent years, there have been several incidents on the DMZ that have heightened tensions between North Korea and South Korea. I'm going to give you the most recent because I know you're going to say that. Well, Matt, that's not 1953. Okay, fine. North and South Korea in 2015, 2 South Korean soldiers were injured by landmines that were allegedly planted by North Korea, allegedly meaning they were, leading to a period of increased military activity along the border. Several conflicts took place between that time. In 2017, a North Korean soldier defected to South Korea by running across the DMZ. You maybe have remembered this, but unfortunately CNN didn't cover it, so probably not, which led to a firefight between North Korean and South Korean soldiers. Overall, the DMZ remains a highly volatile and dangerous area, once again, with the potential for conflict always present, despite the efforts are being made to improve and ease tensions and relationships between North and South Korea, most recently and only Donald Trump's visit in 2019 in February, and Hanoi in Vietnam, and in late June of 2019. Since then, nobody has visited, and before then, North and South Korea, including talks between leaders and various diplomatic initiatives, have been working. I've already covered the amount of mines, the amount of artillery, and the escalating tensions between people trying to defect. I can talk about a certain vehicle, I can't go into specific detail, where sleeper cells from North Korea were going into South Korea, and it was one of my jobs to stop that from happening. They would use the MDV vehicles, essentially just floating metal balls with mild propulsion, using salt propulsion, another type of propulsion, to have some sort of secrecy upon their entry, but they were highly ineffective and most times just sank. But they would use sleepers to come into South Korea and infiltrate. That way, if they ever wanted to impact command, control, communications, and computers, also known as C4 or C3 during my time, because computers weren't as essential as they are today, they would use these sleeper cells to create guerrilla warfare inside South Korea. And one of my jobs was to stop them from getting in. But what do I know? Not much. Now, if you want to go ahead and talk about North Korea and South Korea and compare it to Ukraine and how serious and deadly, they are both extremely deadly. But in Kyiv, most things are pretty benign, to be honest with you, even though you told me there's air raid sirens going off every single day. And unfortunately, that's a lie. And why it's a lie is, well, because I'm not going to just tell you that. I'm going to show you that. Alex Marquardt, however you say his name. I'm not very good with my French, but he says Russia notified the United States in advance of the launch through deconfliction lines. Now understand this, they are talking, this is posthumous from the event with Joe Biden. Russia notified the United States. Russia is at war with Ukraine. They're running a proxy war, but they have no desire to get in an international conflict. So Russia notified the United States, which means that there is communication between the two. Oren from CNN and Natasha Bertrand reported. Had it worked, U.S. officials believe Putin would have highlighted the test in his speech. They're referring to an intercontinental ballistic missile test, which is a lot more serious than a MiG-31K deciding to do what it does every other day, which is sortie 300 times across 40 air bases, all within theater of operation distance of Kyiv. Whoops. The Post states Russia carried out a test of an intercontinental ballistic missile that appears to have failed around the time President Biden was in Ukraine, 2 U.S. officials say. And in other words, they notified and were told to halt the ICBM test because Joe Biden was coming in. They worked it out long before Joe Biden. Can you imagine an ICBM test when he's in Kyiv? Can you imagine the political shitstorm that would create for Putin and Russia and the entire region? Do you think it's a coincidence that 2 days after he has departed from that area, that ICBM test went forward? They were told to hold it off. We knew. Satellites can tell us that. Thermal blooms can tell us that. Refueling can tell us that. We have human intelligence on the ground that can tell us that. We are so far up Russia's ass, we can tell what they had for fucking breakfast. But somehow a MiG-31 stray is going to go ahead and create some sort of conflict. We're not even done yet. That's just to show you that your story is bullshit. That the lines of communication from the United States and Russia were wide open before, during, and after his visit. That's number one. Number two, here's Minsk. Mokoleshki. This is an air base. This is one air base in Belarus. This is the one where you supposedly told me the flight took off, which it most assuredly probably did. You also told me that this missile would take 5 minutes or 20 minutes to reach Kyiv, fired from that aircraft, which is completely batshit crazy. They would have hardly any notice if it did. But the chances of that stray fighter getting in alone would go against every protocol for squadron attacks. I know that because I worked for a VF squadron and did intelligence for them too. But what do I know? When you have strike in your title and intel, you probably know a thing or two about strikes. We're not talking about bowling, lady. We're not talking about unions at Starbucks. We're not talking about the Chicago Teachers Union. We're talking about actual military intervention. You know, the people who have the plot, the people who decide, let's go ahead and create war. Let's go ahead and find out how we get into there with this limited amount of casualties. Yeah, that type of stuff. But once again, why would you listen to me? You slept at a Holiday Inn Express last night. These are the bases around Kyiv. Pretty simple. There's over 40 of them. That's not including any type of aircraft carriers. That's not including any major bombing bases within range. These are the 40 that they are using most heavily to strike Ukraine. In there, just alone in the airport that you were talking about, you have 25 M31Ks, the MiG-31s, known as the Foxhound from the NATO call. Also, the Americans call it the same thing in Jane's Dictionary. These are the 40 bases. Throughout these bases, on a slow day, there are anywhere from 300 to 500 sorties flown every single day in the area, in the theater of operation in Ukraine. This is what you're saying one single solitary MiG-31 flew and an air raid was sounded, even though they have hundreds of sorties a day. A sortie is a plane taking off and coming back and touching down with an undisclosed mission. Now, we can't track the IFF of all of these because they're military flights, but occasionally you can actually get something like a KC-135, very similar to that, although that's not what they use, to refuel their fighters over longer sorties and missions. And you can get a general idea of how many planes are up based upon the amount of refuelers that are in the sky. General intelligence would dictate, like I said, anywhere from 300 to 500 sorties a day with no air raid sirens. Now you say, Matt, how do you know there's no air raid sirens? You're not in Ukraine. How would you possibly know that? You're full of shit, Matthew. There's no way you know this. Well, I don't have to know it, especially when your favorite news broadcasters and CNN tell us.
I've been here for the past 5 days. I have not heard any explosions. I have not heard any air sirens until about half an hour ago, right when President Biden was in the center of Kyiv, as Clarissa was just mentioning.
Let's listen to that again.
I've been here for the past 5 days. I have not heard any explosions. I have not heard any air sirens until about half an hour ago, right when President Biden was in the center of Kyiv, as Clarissa was just mentioning.
Ruh-roh, Raggy. That doesn't sound good. So let me get this straight. For 5 days, a person who's been in country for a year and a half for CNN, a year and a half, he's doing excellent work. He's an amazing reporter. He's fairly unbiased. He's reported on the first initial strikes all the way to this. He was there before the conflict even started. That's how good he is. 5 days, no air raids. But I just told you 300 to 500 sorties a day on a slow day. They've been bombing ad nauseum, nonstop for the last year. We know this because you've seen the news, right? You know that thing you believe? Why were there no air raid sirens when those other early warning systems would tell them that they took off? Why is stray MiG? Why is stray MiG 31K? Well, let's get into it. The Maikoyan, it's actually a Chinese MiG, 31K, Foxhound, predominantly Chinese parts. Navigation systems are a mixture between Russian and American technology. All stolen. Wonder how they did that. Maybe it was spy balloons. The MiG-31 was developed to be a pure long-range interceptor. And what makes it unique, it is one of the only of 2 interceptors in the entire world, a true interceptor. Its job isn't, like I said, to bomb or attack. Its job is to intercept intercontinental ballistic type missiles, any type of integrated air defense system, any type of high altitude bombers. This is its role and its job. It's a very specialized plane in what it does. It is a jack of all trades. It's made to be incredibly good on a few things. By the way, Google and see if I stole this from somewhere. To be incredibly good on a few things in exchange of its capabilities on other things. In this regard, it's like the SR-71 or the U-2 or the F-104 Lightning, if you remember that old flying metallic gas can. The MiG-31 was made to be ready to take off and climb to 65,000 feet on an intercept course of its target at speeds of Mach 2 to Mach 3 in a matter of just a few minutes, and then attack the enemy from a very, very long range with its missiles, and go back home after its targets were destroyed. Currently, the MiG-31 is the only pure interceptor, as I've said, in the operations of the entire world because, one, the military strategy for first stages of a war shifted from penetration attacks with bombers and a strike fighter to the use of cruise missiles and ballistic missiles, which are much easier for targeting. They're a lot more accurate, and they hit the enemy's response capabilities. Like I said, using the Kilo subs would have been much better in the Black Sea. Less time, easier, more accurate cruise missile to go ahead and take out Biden and Zelensky, if that's what they've wanted to do. Number 2, multi-role and air superiority fighters became advanced enough that they could adequately perform the interception role, especially in the new strategic scenario. The MiG-31 was developed to deal with both heavy subsonic high-altitude bombers, the B-52 as I mentioned earlier, supersonic low-altitude bombers like the F-111, piece of shit General Dynamics, and the B-1B, which crashes more often than a Los Angeles highway. And supersonic reconnaissance, the SR-71, hands down the greatest invention ever made by Skunk Works, and engage conventional fighters extreme, the BVR ranges between 100 and 200 kilometers. But above all else, it was designed to shoot down cruise missiles and to patrol Russia's Arctic region, which has a less dense radar coverage from ground radar stations and AEW and C, which is AWACS and EWACS. If you don't know what that is, Google it. Most recent variants upgraded to the BM version extend the maximum attack range of its weapon to the 300 to 400 kilometer range. It also incorporated the ability to take down enemy A, E, W, and C platforms at extremely long ranges by using better ECM, electronic countermeasures, and guidance systems. It also could be used air-to-ground and anti-ship missiles, and also be used as launching platform for ballistic nuclear missiles, anti-radiation missiles known as HARM missiles, which are not Russian, but essentially the same thing, anti-satellite missiles, even anti-balloon missiles, anti-ballistic missiles, and hypersonic cruise missiles if anyone else finds that technology besides Russia. Essentially, if it flies anywhere from sea level to low orbit, the MiG-31 has weapons to take it down and still could use weapons to attack sea and ground assets. But with the limited quantity of 225 and Russia's #1 feature of being defense, they wouldn't sacrifice these vehicles in a single flight non-squadron attack. It simply doesn't make any sense. One of their worst features is its dogfighting capability. And although Ukraine doesn't have much, I would be worried about the aircraft carrier from the United States that accompanied Joe Biden and all of the other weapon systems that did, just in case Russia decided to get fucking froggy. The most important feature of the MiG-31 is its advanced data link system, which allows it to be completely integrated with Soviet's Russian defense network. It's an autonomous unit. Since its prototype in the late 70s, it can share sensor data, radar, and IRST, image analysis, targeting data and weapon control between both MiG-31s, but also with the ground and airborne AEW and C based sensor systems, and to a lesser degree with the other types of fighters. If a target was detected by any element of the network, the MiG-31 could use that data to guide its missiles and even use other planes' missiles to destroy its targets. It doesn't even need to get off the ground. The whole point of it going airborne simply was probably a flight training exercise, or to send a message that we're still here, even though you've neutered us and we can't do shit because we know we don't want a war with the United States. It wouldn't even need to leave the fucking tarmac to hit Kyiv from that distance. But alas, it's a threat. Currently, 252 are in production or made and make up around 75 to 100 sorties a day alone over the 40 bases with AOR and within the AOR of Kyiv, Ukraine. How about now? Please do me a favor when you see this video, continue to dig yourself even deeper. The truth is this, and I've already done a video on this, and if you would have taken the time to watch it, you could have avoided yourself a ton of embarrassment, which you don't care about, because I feel it probably happens often. Very rarely do people question my integrity. Very rarely do they question who I am as a person. I never look down on people who can't serve. In fact, I feel sorry for them. I feel sorry that they may have had flat feet, or they had a debilitating injury, or maybe they couldn't pass the test. I spend my time helping people try to enter the military who truly want to, who can't pass the prerequisite testing or physical aptitude tests. I've done it with hundreds of people. I've also taken care of people posthumously after they've seen some of the worst things in the world, from traumatic brain injuries to anxiety to depression to PTS, and done whatever I can to support veterans and civilians alike with the Veteran Crisis Hotline, philanthropic giving, and working with over 3,000 different veteran organizations. I've sat on the board with Comcast working for VetNet. I've worked for one of the greatest companies, Flags of Valor, as they have a mission to give back to veterans. I'm currently working with multiple veteran companies and helping them get the word out. And the one thing I have never done in all of my time spending in marketing and reaching people is ever degrade civilians because they can't reach my level. Military service is not something that should be heralded over someone or lorded, as you so eloquently put it. I've never done it in my life, and I never will. The next time you call me out, the next time you want to say that I'm not qualified to have this conversation, perhaps you will think better of it the next time. I hope you have the best day possible. I hope you've learned a little something about Russia and the MiG. I hope you've learned something about your president, and that all signs are leading to that this air raid was a complete bluff, like I said. I feel vindicated. And how do you feel? Folks, I will see you hopefully sometime tonight, maybe with a recorded show, or maybe I'll just let this one stand for a while. But if you would like to come on live, ma'am, at any time, I would love to have you and hear your retort. In fact, I'll give you 5 minutes free and clear. I won't say a word, and you can go ahead and say whatever I said was right, wrong, or indifferent. But what you don't get to do is accuse me of using my military service to make you feel small. Unfortunately, I don't have that power. If I did, I'd be a hell of a lot more of an important show, and I would guilt people into watching it. Only you can control how you feel, and you can either allow me to make you feel that way, or you could simply admit you were wrong, and we would have been fine a long time ago. Folks, thanks for watching. I'll go out with the Veteran Crisis Hotline to all the Don't Unfriend Me listeners. God bless you. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show, and I will see you tonight, tomorrow, or somewhere in between. God bless.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important. You are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call